It's 2:25 a.m. You're not building anything new. You're staring at logs, trying to understand why something that worked yesterday doesn't work anymore. You scroll. Error. Null pointer. Line 284. You don't remember writing that, but Git says you did. That's the first problem. You don't remember half the code you write, and that's normal. Your Slack lights up. Hey, prod is down. Another message. Users can't log in. This isn't a bug anymore. This is visible. You open your last commit. Quick fix. 2 words. That's all it took. One small change. Now everything's broken. You try to reproduce it. It works locally. Of course it does. That's the second problem. Local isn't real. Production is. You restart. Run it again. Still broken. You open Stack Overflow. Same error, same answers. None of them help. That's the third problem. The internet only helps until it doesn't. You go back to your code. Scroll, scroll. Everything looks fine, which makes it worse, because if nothing looks wrong, you don't know where to start. You try to show someone the bug. It disappears, like it was never there. You run it again. It breaks again. You're not solving problems. You're guessing where they are. You feel it, that quiet pressure. Not panic, not yet, just you're behind, and you don't know how far. You won't know until it's fixed. You think this is about coding. It's not. It's about getting in. You open LeetCode. Timer starts. Because speed matters. You're not solving problems, you're racing them. You memorize patterns, sliding window, DFS, binary search. You don't understand them fully, you recognize them. That's enough, for interviews, not for real work. You don't know that yet. You open Reddit. Someone your age just got an offer, $150,000, no experience. That's what they say. You don't question it, you just compare. You start tracking yourself. How many problems today? How fast was I? How many left? You stop building things for fun, because fun doesn't get interviews. Signal does. Resume projects. Clean, impressive, slightly fake. You copy tutorials. Change a few things. Call it your own. Everyone does. No one says it. You start thinking differently. Not, do I understand this? But, can I pass the interview? That's the shift. And once that happens, you're already behind, because interviews aren't the job. You tell yourself, once I get the job, I'll finally relax. You believe that. This is the easiest it will ever feel. First day, you get access, Slack, GitHub, the codebase. You feel like you made it. Then you open the repo. Thousands of files, folders inside folders. Nothing is labeled clearly. Nothing is obvious. That's intentional. Systems evolve. They don't stay clean. You search for your function. 5 results. All slightly different. Which one matters? You don't know. That's the job now. Figuring out what matters. You ask your mentor. They explain it. Fast. Too fast. You nod. You didn't understand. You say, got it. Everyone says that. No one got it. You spend hours setting up your environment. Node version mismatch, Docker not running, random dependency failing. You fix one thing, 2 more break. That's normal. Eventually, it runs. That feels like progress. It isn't. You haven't even started. You write your code. Push. Open pull request. You wait. Review comes back. 20 comments. None about logic. All about style. Rename this. Handle edge case. Better structure. You rewrite everything. Again. Your code isn't yours. It belongs to the system. You stay late. No one tells you to, but you see everyone else staying. So you stay. Because leaving early feels wrong. Even if no one said it. You're not learning to code. You're learning to fit in. Now it's real. Salary, $100,000. Looks big, feels big, for about a week. Then work starts. Stand-ups, tickets, deadlines. You get your first production bug. Users are affected. Now it matters. You try to fix it. You think you fixed it. You deploy. Something else breaks. You fix one issue, something completely unrelated breaks. You spend 3 hours debugging. It was one missing character. You stare at the same problem for hours. The solution feels obvious. Later. You start seeing old code, weird code, confusing code, no comments, no explanation. You ask about it. No one touches that. Every system has that place, and one day, you'll have to touch it. You reread every message before sending, not for clarity, for tone, because looks good, feels different from looks good, and people notice. You search decoding messages. Quick fix equals not quick. Small change equals rewrite everything. ASAP equals drop everything. You check Slack constantly, even after work, even in bed. Because something might break. And when it does, you're expected to be there. You're not working, but you're not off either. That's the shift. Work doesn't end, it follows you. You don't spend most of your time coding, you spend it reading, searching, waiting. You thought coding was the job. Maintaining code is the job. Now you understand things, but now you're expected to. You estimate tasks. Should take a day. It takes 3. It always takes 3. Because reality isn't clean. Dependencies, edge cases, hidden complexity. You don't see them until you're inside. You sit in planning meetings. Product wants speed. Engineering wants safety. You sit in the middle. You compromise. Every time. You finally get into flow. Then a meeting interrupts it. You switch tasks 5 times a day. You don't fully finish any of them. You're stuck. Not because of code. Because you're waiting on someone else. You review more code. You start noticing something. Most bugs aren't from bad developers. They're from pressure. Deadlines create bugs, not people. You go on call, phone next to your bed. You wake up at 3:07 a.m. Alert, production down. You log in, half awake, fix something quickly. You don't fully understand it. You don't have time to. You go back to sleep. 2 hours later, stand up, camera on. Everything good? You say yes, because explaining the truth takes too long. You're not behind because you're slow. You're behind because the system never stops moving. Now you're fast. You see problems instantly. You debug quickly. But that just means you get more problems, more systems, more responsibility, more pressure. Juniors come to you, constantly. You help them, then redo parts of their work, because explaining takes longer. You stop optimizing for learning. You optimize for speed. You think in systems, not features. You think, what breaks at scale? What fails under load? What happens at 3 a.m.? Because it will happen at 3 a.m. It always does. You design systems, but you don't have time to design them properly. Because deadlines, always deadlines. You cut corners, smarter ones, but still corners. You open your task board. It's full, always full. You close one task, 3 more appear. Nothing is ever done. It just stops being urgent. You click deploy, then wait, hoping nothing breaks. Sometimes you change nothing, and it suddenly works again. You don't know why. Getting better doesn't reduce work. It increases it. Now you don't code much. You decide. Architecture, trade-offs, direction. You spend your time aligning people, not writing code. That's the real shift. The hardest problems aren't technical anymore. They're human. Different teams, different priorities, different timelines. You sit in meetings all day, talking about systems, talking about decisions, talking about trade-offs. You miss coding. But when you do code, it matters more than ever, because mistakes at this level cost more. You think in trade-offs constantly: speed versus quality, now versus later, simple versus scalable. There's no perfect solution, only acceptable ones. You're not paid to be right, you're paid to decide. You made it. Title, money, $200,000 plus, stock, respect. You don't feel ahead. You feel behind in a different way. Not on code, on decisions, strategy, hiring, execution. You influence, you don't control. That's the difference. You thought seniority meant control. It doesn't. It means responsibility without certainty. You solve problems no one can define clearly, ambiguous problems, moving targets. You make decisions with incomplete information, because waiting is worse. It's late. You're home. Laptop open. Same glow, same posture, different level, same feeling. Somewhere right now, a student is solving problems, timing themselves, thinking, if I get good enough, I'll catch up. They won't, because this isn't a ladder, it's a treadmill. You run, you improve, you move forward, but the system moves faster. There's always another bug, another deploy, another framework, another expectation. You don't memorize solutions, you memorize where to find them. You don't feel confident. You just feel less lost than before. You get faster. The work just gets faster with you. And that's the part no one explains. You don't fall behind once. You stay behind, just slightly less than before. And the next alert is already coming.